Hey, how's it going? Sandro here. Thank you so much for checking out this new episode of Oldie But a Goodie. And oh boy, is this an episode over an hour talking about the wonderful movie Shrek and the also wonderful, depending on who you're talking to, movie Shrek 2. We did a little bit of a bonus battle with our guests, Jack and Jacob. It's been ages since Jack's been on the show. It's been, quite a while. I think his last appearance was Dune. It's good to have them both on, especially because myself, Jack and Jacob, we make up a comedy group called Paul Noodle. And we got some digital content coming soon. Keep an ear out for that. I'll announce it on this show whenever it is ready to be a thing. We're still planning it, but it's very exciting. Also, as always, this episode is brought to you by Patreon. Brand new episode out on Wednesday on Christopher Nolan's Memento. And there's a huge back catalogue on there as well. And it's also brought to you by that debut album from Kegel and Greg. It's still streaming. Had so much fun working on that. If you like comedy music, check out my comedy duo Kegel and Greg and our debut album. And now here it is, the episode on Shrek versus Shrek 2. Little warning up top, we are trying out some new recording stuff in this episode. We're going to start trying to record in person a lot more, and that's what we did on this one. And we're still figuring some tech stuff out, but I think it sounds pretty great. I'm excited for you to hear it. Here it is, Shrek versus Shrek 2.
Imagine a year where somebody once told me the world is gonna roll me. I ain't the sharpest tool in the shed.
Oh wow, what year is that, Zach?
She was looking kinda dumb with a finger and her thumb in the shape of an L on her forehead. Well, the years start coming and they don't start coming. Back to the rules and I hit the ground running.
They never stop coming. They never stop coming.
They don't stop coming and they don't start coming. Yeah.
The year is 2001.
Welcome to Oldie But a Goodie. It is the podcast where we talk about movies from 2001 in the order they came out in. This week, back in 2001, Shrek came out. So we're gonna talk about Shrek for way too long on today's episode. As always, my name is Sandro. I'm joined by Zach.
Hello. And if our audio sounds a little different, it's because we got a little bit of a different setup today.
Yeah, we usually record with robots.
Yeah, we just have automated recording bots that do all the recording for us, but now we have to manually do it today.
We do have to manually do it today. We're recording in person, but it's not just us, because that would be weird. 2 people is weird.
Yeah.
We've got to get more people in here if we're doing in person.
We need a crowd to deal with Shrek.
And so joining us, you haven't heard him in a while, but he's back on the show, Jack McGorlick.
Hello. Glad to be back.
The Paul Atreides of the Oldie But a Goodie podcast.
Yeah.
Wait, that's a bad thing.
No, I stand by that. No, I think that's the perfect description.
Does it mean I die blind in a desert? Yeah.
Yeah.
Terrible foresight.
I'm just trying to warn you to stay away from deserts. That's all.
Probably a good thing. How you feeling, Jack, going into this big episode? How you feeling?
I'm feeling good.
You feeling good?
I'm feeling great.
Well, also joining us is Jacob. You're also here.
Get Shreked.
Whoa.
Man, I did not have something cool lined up, and Jacob just came in here and showed me up like a putz.
I am homicidally excited to talk about Shrek.
Can I retroactively say that I am Shrek-sided?
You are Shrek-sided.
That's what you bring to the fight, Shrek-sided.
It's pretty good. We got chips in the middle of the table, and Zach's already eaten them, and I'm already mad.
I only did it because we talked about it very specifically before we started recording. So I had to do it at least once.
Yeah, no, of course. We are doing a bonus battle because we couldn't just do Shrek, right? Because our format is we do the plot, and everyone knows the plot of Shrek. If you haven't seen Shrek, stop and go watch it.
Yeah.
It's readily available everywhere.
Go watch 1, 2, and 4, the 3 Shrek movies that exist.
And Puss in Boots. And the Halloween
how
special.
could I forget Puss in Boots?
And Puss in Boots.
The Puss in Boots interactive Netflix game, which I attempted to play in preparation for this podcast, but I couldn't get through it. It was so painful to try and play. I played it for maybe 10 minutes, and I was just like, nah, this isn't worth it. I'm just going to go watch Shrek now. Like, this shit.
But yeah, we're doing Shrek 1 versus Shrek 2 because everyone, has different opinions about which one is best. I know I think the first one's best. Zach, you're fighting for the second one. But our guests, we'll start with Jacob. Which one do you think is the best one?
I think Shrek is a flawless movie. No flaws, except for the background animation. And Shrek 2 isn't, so it's Shrek for me.
It's I watched them one after the other, Shrek 1 and then Shrek 2. And when I was a kid, I think I used to like Shrek 2 more, but after that experience of rewatching them, I came out of it certain that Shrek 1 was a better movie. It's a superior movie.
So even though we've got an equal number of people on, for the first time, an equal number of people on a guest bonus battle,
Yes.
we are still...
Yes. I am still outnumbered. I am happy to argue the points of Shrek 2 being just the slight bit better movie. I will not say a large bit, because they are both fantastic movies.
Are we really
But
going
I
to
would
let
say
Zach get away
that
with
Shrek
framing the
2
argument like this?
Yes.
What was it like rewatching Shrek? We'll start with Jacob. How long has it been since you last saw it? What are your updated thoughts now?
Okay, it hasn't been that long since I've
Every night he goes to sleep watching Shrek.
I watched it probably less than a year ago. But I do want to say this. So I was reading online that when DreamWorks was making The Prince of Egypt,
Yes.
apparently they thought Shrek would be bad, and they would punish the animators to go work on Shrek if the animators didn't behave, and that was called getting Shreked. And Shrek to me feels like such a flawless movie that before it came out, they must have known that it was a hit. The only thing that I kept watching it being the animation is pretty stiff. That was my main.
Yeah, you said a flawless movie, but you've just said a criticism about your flawless movie.
I feel like it's the same as Toy Story in that the toys in Toy Story are great and the humans aren't at all. Which is kind of the same as Shrek. All the creatures are great, but anything that looks remotely human looks like it's a T-pose model just kind of walking around.
And mainly just when they're walking through fields and stuff, the background animators just barely came to work. It's just
they got Shrek'd and took it hard.
They took the drinking more than they did animating, that's for sure.
Yeah, and what about with Shrek 2?
Shrek 2, I haven't seen that in ages. It's fine. It's just fine.
What do you mean it's fine? It's great. It's the perfect sequel to the movie. That doesn't necessarily make it better, but I'll say it's one of the most perfect sequels to a movie that ever exists.
When you hear my idea for a prequel,
yeah, look,
it's not a super strong argument to say it's better because it's a sequel. It's a good sequel.
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm just saying you're downplaying it. You're saying it's okay. I'm saying it might not be the better movie, but it's at least one of the best sequels to any movie that ever exists. I will argue it.
Isn't your position that it is a better movie?
Oh, it is. Thank you for clarifying. I'm glad you're here.
You're conceding that it may not be.
I am saying even if I get out-argued by 3 people, that it will go down as one of the best sequels that have ever existed, alongside Terminator 2.
It's up
which
there.
I believe is personally the better movie, but moving on from that.
I prefer the quaintness of 1, but I think it's an interesting sequel because it does open the world more, but the plot is also the same, and the characters go through the exact same arcs I think they went through in the first one. But it does introduce some new... I don't know. It's a tough one.
I disagree. It's about more family this time and dealing with the family dynamics.
The beauty of Shrek is that it was Shrek. It was its own Shrek. And the sequel was just another Hollywood sequel.
I will say, though, that Shrek 3 and 4, though, those sequels are just... they were pushing for the kids and they want memes. And they kind of forgot their core audience, which is us grumpy men sitting in a room talking about Shrek.
The real ogres in the equation.
I think 4's okay. I think 4's a good movie. 3 I can't say anything good about. I liked Merlin in 3. It's the only thing I can remember.
The only thing I remember from 3, I think I saw it once, was the kid with the blood nose. He laughed so hard he got a blood nose. I liked that.
Jack, when was the last time you saw these movies?
I think I would have seen maybe both Shrek 1 and 2, maybe 3 years ago.
Okay.
I don't think I was paying that much attention when I saw it 3 years ago. This was a very concerted watch this time, this most recent one.
And has your opinions changed on anything?
I was just like, with the the luxury of having time between watches. It was a brilliant movie. I almost watched it. Have you ever because Shrek is such a memed movie, and it's kind of like, how you can't really watch Star Wars because you're watching. Every time you watch Star Wars, you're watching the cultural impression of what Star Wars is.
I can't watch the prequels anymore.
I somehow got into the mind space where I was just watching Shrek.
Yeah.
When I watched it
That's
other
the only mind space I watch.
I'm sorry, we're not a pure savant, childlike savant like you.
And I couldn't. When I was watching the second movie, I was just. It's like when I watched Lord of the Rings and Star Wars as an adult for the first time. I was like 26 or something.
Yeah.
I watched it and I was like, this is just a movie. But Shrek is not just a movie.
He puts on his Shrek uniform every night, He pulls out his Shrek duvet and his Shrek blankie. He's ready to go.
Shrek is a lifestyle.
I will say I was deeply moved by Shrek this time watching it.
Yeah.
Deeply moved. And I was not deeply moved by Shrek 2. I'm like, because I was already certain they'd figure their stuff out, but I was like there for every step of the ride with the first Shrek.
Excellent.
And the acting, Shrek's acting, people don't talk about it enough. The acting of Shrek. Not the voice acting. The character of Shrek is great.
I love that Shrek is like cheeky sometimes, like cheeky face Shrek. It's like
He likes to pull out a few jokes. You think he's compensating for something?
I also love that Shrek is telling jokes purely for an audience of himself. Like he's so self-amusing. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, it's true. I was expecting to come on here, kind of like with our Spy Kids episode, and be like, this is a good movie. But is this a good movie if you're like 30 and you're watching this for the first time? Are you going to get anything out of this? And I think I can safely say I'm not clouded by nostalgia for this one. Shrek is legitimately one of the funniest animated movies out there. It is
great.
tight. The soundtrack is entirely iconic. It's got small, tiny animation flaws that add to it. Yes, Eddie Murphy sometimes feels like he's not in the same recording booth as Mike Myers, but it's fine because it's funny still. And all that stuff is really good. And the story is simple, which means that the jokes come from the characters, whereas I think with 2, the jokes come from the story. And I'm less interested in that.
It's very world building.
Yeah.
The second one is almost all world building.
Because like the first one is like small sketches, right? Like the gingerbread man torture scene is just this weird sketch that they just threw in. That doesn't need to be there. And then like with 2 though, I think everything has to tie together a bit more.
Yeah, well, I like world building.
You do.
World building's one of my favorite things in movies, which is why I like 2 so much, is because it does so much world building. And I don't necessarily think that world building and the jokes being involved with each other is a bad thing.
No, it's
necessarily.
not a criticism at all. No.
It's a different thing, though. So some people might not like that. I like it. I like the ending. I'm not going to lie. All my stakes are kind of on the ending of Shrek 2, which I say is a better ending than Shrek 1. I'll throw it out there.
Let me think about that.
Yeah.
Actually, I might agree.
The epic storming of the castle with the giant gingerbread man is the
that was
thing
a moment.
is the thing that it holds above Shrek 1.
Oh.
Because they managed to get the number 1 animators, not the number 5 animators on it.
So one of the
They
things
put their resources in.
Yeah.
I remember like watching Shrek 2 as a kid, the bit where Puss in Boots stays back to like fight off the guards. I remember that moment being massive. Like he gives like a 30-second long speech about how he's gonna like redeem his honor. And then I watched it the other night and it was one line of just I will pay back my debt. And then he fights them.
True. Yeah. Oh, one thing, I think it's surprising that there's only one joke in these 2 movies that I don't think is like holds up at all, and that's the ugly stepsister joke. That's the only joke that like is bad in these 2 movies. That's impressive. Only one joke hasn't aged super well.
That one, and then just before that as well, they go to the tower and there's a gender-confused wolf.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm saying that as a compliment. For a 2001 movie, to get 25 minutes into the sequel before the first franchise is like a revolution.
I will concede, the second one has a few more lesser great jokes, but this is what I have to say to you, Sandro.
Oh, you brought out the chip argument.
Yeah.
It's a strong one.
It's a diversion tactic.
I forgot, we didn't mention the other movies that came out this week in 2001. The other movies that you could have chosen were About Adam, a rom-com about the effect a seductive young man has on 4 siblings. Angel Eyes, a man who's drawn to a police officer played by Jennifer Lopez, a bit of a rom-com. Conspiracy, TV movie about the 1949 Wannsee Conference, a meeting of senior officials from the Nazis and the SS. A Moulin Rouge, Australian musical, about a young poet, falls for an actress. Stars Obi-Wan Kenobi, whose show is out next week. I'm very excited. Turbulence 3 Heavy Metal. Satanists hijack a heavy metal concert that's happening on a plane. Hackers use the internet to try and help. 9/11 happened just after this, and there's actually some interesting stuff I've heard about that movie. So we didn't do that.
Yeah. But we could do it in the future.
We'll get into topics and stuff first, but I do kind of want to talk about the making of this movie. As you briefly touched on, Jacob, DreamWorks, no faith. No faith behind this. I think like Steven Spielberg was originally gonna do something with it, but he wanted it to be just like a straightforward animation. I think he wanted like a live action CG mix, like Roger Rabbit.
Oh God, I'm just trying to imagine that. Yeah.
Yeah. And the casting like that they originally had was wild. So the first person that they approached obviously was Nicolas Cage.
Yep.
To be Shrek. And he was like, no, because when you do an animated film, that's what kids remember you by, and I don't want to be remembered as an ogre. Fair enough.
I mean, he's well remembered. He's not wrong. Everyone remembers Shrek.
Yeah. Then they hired Chris Farley. I think he recorded most of it, but then died. And they weren't going to, because I think he did all of it, but not enough to do like the quote unquote like reshoots, I guess. So they replaced him with Mike Myers, who recorded the whole movie in an American accent, and then was like, actually, let's do Scottish.
Yeah.
And then, it's fascinating how many different versions such an iconic character went through before we got this version, you know? Like, it's an iconic role, but imagine what would have happened if the events that made this did not go forward.
I remarked in a private group chat that had Mike Myers not made the decision to do a Scottish accent, Shrek would be nowhere near as iconic as it now is, I don't think.
Yeah.
Does it exist, the recording?
There might be some clips out there somewhere, like some storyboard clips.
I've heard the Chris Farley one.
Yeah.
And man, it makes you want to give him a hug. It makes you want to give him a hug, yeah.
I know one fact is that he got that Scottish accent from his grandmother.
Okay.
Because his grandmother used to do it, and I think she died or something, and he was like, you know what, as a way to honor her, I'm going to grab that.
That's really nice.
Yeah. So I know she might not have died. I might have made all that up on the spot.
She was Scottish, or she did a voice?
No, she did a voice.
Oh,
she did a voice.
As a joke, yeah.
Yeah, as a thing. And he really liked that one. So he was like, yeah, let me insert this here. Yeah. Oh, we have to reshoot anything? I don't care. This is the better voice.
Other versions of the characters were Bill Murray as Shrek, Steve Martin as Donkey.
I would have seen Steve Martin as Shrek. But I could see that. Outsider energy.
Yeah.
But look, the whole thing of like Donkey being black, I think adds so much to it. There's just so much more nuance there, and you can have such a deeper textual analysis. And I'm saying that 100% seriously. And I know that people have written dissertations on that for sure. So I stand firm in my convictions.
Yeah. It's interesting as well because Eddie Murphy had done Milan before this. And I love Milan, but I don't like him in it. I find him, it just pulls me right out of that movie. He's incredible in this, though. Like, this is his role. And he's done so many iconic roles, but this is the one.
Yeah, my dad was watching, like, in the room. Well, he was in the kitchen in the other room, next room.
Yeah.
And he'd just stand and look at the TV. And anytime Eddie Murphy said, like, Donkey said something, my dad was cracking up. Like, he wasn't even invested in the movie, and he was having a good time.
It's great.
So as I mentioned, they wanted this to be a very straightforward animation movie after the idea of the CG thing was like thrown out the window, which was a good idea because they shouldn't
Like
have
the
done that.
live action CG mix.
Yeah, so that was thrown out. Then they just wanted to make like a pretty regular run-of-the-mill animation movie. But they got the co-director Andrew Adamson was there, and he stood up to the producer Katzenberg and was like, "Okay, we can do a straightforward animation. That's fine, but this is going to be also like an adult comedy. We're going to have Guns N' Roses. We're going to have rock music in here and so many jokes for adults." And I think like this whole franchise does kind of rest on him. He's the reason why it's so good. And he's involved with 2 as well. Not 3 and 4 makes sense. He went off to do the Narnia movies instead, which were also pretty good until he left for 3.
I like the idea that like his stand was really like, we will have dick jokes.
I don't think there's too much else to say. Oh, no, there is. One really fascinating bit I found out about this movie is, like, we're talking about it because it was released around the world May 18th, 2001. But in April, it played at the Cannes Film Festival.
Oh,
In the Palme d'Or category, the number 1 category.
Nice.
DreamWorks somehow were like, this is an art piece.
I mean,
They weren't wrong.
I think Jacob would well agree with
Was
them,
it well
along
received?
with the rest of us.
Was it well received?
I think it was, yeah. Like, the critic score for this is what? It's got like an 88% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh,
which is
that's-
really high for a non-Pixar animated movie. It cost 60 million
US?
US.
Wow.
60 million US. That's cheap for animation, especially
So,
3D.
When you say how much did it make, because it's still making money. Like we just watched it on the
Oh, the
streaming
box
service.
office, I mean, yeah.
Okay, box
Yeah.
office. Okay.
Like initial release,
Yeah,
sort of
the
thing.
first like 3 months or something.
I think it was a smash hit. I'm gonna. The thing is, it's like how much of a smash hit was it initially before it entered the ethos of just being iconic in itself. I'm gonna say 500.
500 mil.
Mil.
All right.
Yeah.
How about you, Jacob?
Yeah, before Zach said that, I was thinking 550.
Yep.
Yeah.
I remember being in prep when this came out and people talking about Dragon kissing Shrek's butt. And it was everyone knew. So I reckon everyone and their dog saw this movie.
And that's in Australia.
Yeah, that's in Australia. So I'm gonna go one better than Jacob. 551.
You're doing a Zach tactic.
Yeah, that's usually my tactic. I usually like to do that sort of bullshit.
Well, I was tempted to grab a chippy earlier. So.
I could do 700k.
700,000?
Yeah, 700. Oh, sorry, 700 mil. 700 mil.
Worldwide, you're probably close though with inflation. I reckon it is about 700 mil with inflation. It's $488 million.
Okay, well, either way I win. Either way, I'll go back to my previous statement, or I'll stay on my new one.
It is the third highest grossing film of 2001 though. Any guesses as to what the top 2 are?
Avatar.
What else came out in 2001?
Yeah.
2001. A lot of big franchises started.
Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of
That's
the
one of them.
Ring.
That's number 2.
guessed
That's number 2.
Harry Potter.
Oh, and he's got number 1.
Well, there you go.
Jacob, your prequel idea. Do you want to do it now?
Yeah, sure. I'll say my prequel idea. Okay, I'm proud to announce. So, you know, at the beginning of the film, we're seeing all of the characters get taken to the marketplace and being, like, sold.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so a lady brings Donkey, and she's saying Donkey talk. Now, I think that lady is one of the most underappreciated characters in all of cinema history. Because Donkey doesn't talk, so she doesn't say, "Oh, I'll leave." She starts doing ventriloquism with Donkey. And it made me think, I wonder what Donkey's life was like living with this lady.
Yeah.
And so my prequel is Donkey and the lady. What's going on, right? Are they with other donkeys? And he talks?
Yeah.
Is she taking him around touring? Are they friends? Are they enemies? So the prequel is Donkey, Life Before Shrek.
Donkey Life of... I like that idea.
Wow.
I think that would go down well. They're looking for a donkey solo movie
They
for
need
sure.
a donkey spin-off so badly.
Yeah. What would their chemistry be similar to Shrek and Donkey, or would she be a little bit more straight?
Well, that's the question. It's like, were they in a relationship?
Oh, maybe.
Were they friends? Was she his owner? Like, was he a donkey on, like... Was he like a donkey working the farm, but he talked?
Yeah.
They're all good possibilities.
Yeah. Oh, could do like an Animal Farm sort
You've
of.
got to insert the bit about him trying to be sold for magic beans, as is mentioned canonically in the second movie, as one of his worst moments in his previous existence,
so
is the
is
time he
she-
was sold for magic beans.
Is she Jack's mother then?
Oh,
Maybe she's Jack's
potential.
mother.
Potential. Maybe there's some giants involved.
True.
Maybe.
I also like that Donkey was just a serf until he wasn't. Like,
Yeah.
it was such an easy escape as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then meanwhile, while we're seeing that with Donkey, we can see Shrek living his best ogre life.
Yeah.
None of this celebrity BS. Just Shrek being Shrek.
There's
Shrek.
just two other things I want to add to this prequel because they're questions I have,
Oh, no.
which I need answered.
Oh no.
Because in number 2,
Yeah.
as I have studied it heavily for this session, as the only person who's going to be vying for it, apparently, it is canonical that Shrek drinks a potion, a mushroom drinks a potion, and Donkey drinks a potion.
Yes.
And we know that the potion affects the lover as well.
Oh.
So I need to know what happened to the dragon while the potion was in effect.
What did the dragon turn into?
Because we don't know. It's never shown. Was she affected? Maybe she wasn't affected. Maybe the dragon isn't his true love.
I reckon she
Or-
turned into like a sexy, never-ending story style dragon, just like real, like radiant.
Okay.
It's an excellent,
Donkey.
it's an excellent thought experiment. I take issue with the whole potion and then Donkey becoming sexy because Donkey's like he becomes a stallion. He should just become a sexy donkey. in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like, don't tell me that he's already the perfect ideal of a donkey.
But then would Shrek
yeah.
become a sexier ogre?
Yeah, that's the thing. I think the potion is an evil thing.
Yeah.
It gives you beauty, but only in the idealized sense of the populace.
It's self-denial.
Yeah, exactly. It's not actual true beauty. It's a fake beauty that.
I was actually going to take issue with something Jacob said earlier.
Oh,
Yeah.
Where he said a movie where you see Shrek living his Shrek life pre-Donkey.
His best ogre life.
His best ogre life. I would say we caught Shrek at the perfect time. Because this is a guy, we see him being stuck in his Shrek ways, his ogre ways. And then you see him breaking out of that curmudgeonly won't let anyone in. And the amount of hurt that he goes through to make that step out into letting people into his life. Like, man, the bit where he thinks that Fiona is talking about him, the amount of pain that he is living through, because he's not just living through that pain, but every single rejection that he's ever lived through on account of being an ogre.
Yeah.
It's good acting, right?
It's good.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's
Now I'll
good.
take that. So we see him as his true ogre self for sure.
This is the thing that I think was another weakness of Shrek 2 compared to Shrek 1.
Yeah.
Or just like, it's so hard because Shrek was a perfect movie. You're right, Jim.
Yeah.
Is that in the first Shrek, when Shrek becomes upset or gets like deeply hurt, you're like, oh man, Shrek really does have layers. And you're seeing it for the first time and realizing it. In Shrek 2, when he gets upset because he reads Fiona's diary, we already know that he has rejection issues. You know what I mean? And it doesn't feel like...
Can I say now on the Shrek has layers, right? Ogres have layers.
Ogres have layers.
I think it's a classic the first rule and second rule of Fight Club problem where everybody they just misunderstand the quote. He says ogres are like onions, they have layers. And then Donkey says, oh, so they're like cakes have layers too. And Shrek says, no, like onions. It's not about the layers. He sees himself as an onion. That's the point. As an onion that no one would ever love and no one would ever enjoy eating.
true.
The layers thing is
Tony
just-
Abbott would.
That's in there for the kids, you know? That's my big pet peeve.
You're saying that whole thing, it was actually a layered statement where the actual missions had layers itself.
That's true.
Incredible.
That's true.
This is definitely going to be in like 50 years' time. The people who used to have the take of like the road not taken, people always misinterpret it. This is going to replace that, and people are going to say the onion thing. People always say it as though it's a thing about this. No, it's about onions.
And the Fight Club thing is, the first rule of Fight Club is you don't talk about Fight Club.
Yeah.
Like you don't. And the second rule is, it's more clear in the book. talk. You don't talk about Fight Club. You don't go like, oh, hey, how great was Fight Club last night?
You fight about
You fight,
it.
exactly. So they're two separate rules.
That's true.
Gollum has an unhealthy obsession about some bit of jewelry.
Doesn't even know this what the precious is. Stupid therapist.
Cookie Monster's a bit of a stress eater.
Cookie.
And homicidal robots really just want their best friend back.
I know I did and said things that she regrets. But why is that my problem?
All these monsters really need is therapy. The podcast Therapy for Monsters finally puts monsters in the therapy chair with a real therapist. Me, Tim, your friendly neighborhood therapist. If you'd like to learn a bit and laugh a bit, check out Therapy for Monsters on your favorite podcast app.
That's Not Canon Productions podcast.
All right, let's get into the bonus battle. We haven't come up with topics yet because, of course, we haven't.
No. I feel like this is an integral part of the bonus battle, is coming up with the categories on the fly at the time. It takes away from it if you carefully plan, structure
true.
these things. No, you got to get these raw thoughts as they
Would you
occur.
say that Shrek did things on the fly? I feel like he wasn't much of a pre-planner.
Yeah. Or like the individual Shrek or the audio development team that...
No, Shrek the Shrek
man.
the ogre.
Oh, absolutely. He would make impulse decisions.
Yeah.
Like, sure, I'll go on a quest to save a princess so I can get my swamp back. Whatever.
Yeah.
Let's
He had
just do
great
it.
instincts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, he did. How about we go around the table, name a topic, and I'll just write it down. So we want topics, just like stuff that we can rate the movie on, then add up all the points and see what the winner is. You start us off, Zach. What's
Yeah.
just a
Well,
random
I'm
topic?
going to go with the basic, easy one. It's one of the things I remember most iconically is the soundtrack
Soundtrack.
from the movies, because I think both of them equal in soundtrack just awesomeness. I particularly remember, obviously Smash Mouth is iconic.
Incredible.
But I Need a Hero from Shrek 2.
It's pretty good.
It's one of my favorite songs of all time. So I'll just throw that out there.
Soundtrack is a good topic. Jacob.
Hell yeah. I'll give an alley-oop up to Zach, and I'd say that world building is a good one.
Ooh.
Definitely, we've already said that Shrek 2 has great world building, but Shrek 1 has amazing world building.
Oh, yeah.
I like that one. Jack.
Social impact.
Oh, memeability.
I like that one. That's a good one.
Did want to ask Zach, do you feel that you do need a hero?
Yes, constantly.
Yeah.
Like right now, I'm 3v1ing for a movie I'm not super confident is better than the first movie itself. Like, I'm just having to put all my chips in on, yes, the second one's definitely better, because otherwise I'm just going to sit here and be like, yeah.
Just like a YouTube debate video where you see the cognitive dissonance start to
Yeah.
creep in.
That's good.
I need the fairy godmother in here to give me a handsome prince to help me here, because it's a struggle.
I want to do like fairy tale references, but I feel like that's a part of world building, so maybe not.
Yeah.
That's a part of the overall world building. I will instead go with adult humor.
Okay.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I've written some of those down.
Yeah.
Look, something that's very important to me. Realism.
Ooh.
I'm not buying that Donkey
What?
is falling in love with a dragon. I'm not buying
Oh,
that.
that's-
What?
I'm deducting points.
All right.
Okay, I'm on board with that,
All
because
right.
that happens in the first movie. So
Some
I'm
of this
good
stuff
with that.
is not realistic.
Yeah.
And I've been sitting on that for too
I
long.
will point out that donkeys have, in the real life, crossbred to make mules.
It's the romance. I'm
Yeah.
not buying it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm saying the relationship is purely physical.
Donkey was not invested.
I don't buy it at all.
Look, as we see in the first movie, it's a very one-sided relationship.
It's also like borderline bestiality. Like the dragon doesn't talk, but Donkey does. He's clearly more cognitively developed.
Although most donkeys don't talk though.
yeah.
Like if a human didn't talk.
So this is something I was actually going to bring up. So lots of people might be thinking, aren't these all meant to be fairy tale creatures? What's the fairy tale about the talking donkey? So in the Bible, there's this guy called Balaam who has a talking donkey. And lots of rabbis say that he had sex with the donkey. So they subscribe to your ideology of like, if the animal talks, it's not bestiality.
Yeah. Look,
Or the opposite. So the opposite of if the talking donkey talks, well, we can just say donkeys don't talk generally, so you're fine.
yeah. Look,
Is it okay to fuck Dragon counts for 2? How starved was Dragon for attention that this donkey could come along?
look. She's had a job of guarding a castle from any man that gets in. The one job she's supposed to do is murder any guy that exists
Who
nearby.
knew that Dragon was a words of affirmation person? You know what I'm
Look,
saying?
I don't know.
All right, number 1 soundtrack, Shrek 1. The soundtrack for Shrek 1 is non-stop hits. Every song in Shrek 1 is good. Even that weird cover that they do of one of the songs in like a medieval style, and they change some of the words. That is a classic. You've got Hallelujah. Real sad song, but it's Shrekified. It's good. You've
And
got-
to probably the majority of people alive at the moment, that's the original.
Probably. Yeah, probably. You know what? Well, most definitely. And you got Smash Mouth. They shouldn't be famous. Why do we know the name Smash Mouth?
Shrek.
It's because
Shrek,
of
yeah.
Shrek. I think the soundtrack for Shrek is great. How are we going to do these points? Do we 3 come up with a rating for the one topic, and then you come up with a rating for yours?
No, I think that's very fair. I think that sounds fair to me.
All right, out of 5, or out of 10 maybe, so we can kind of...
Yeah.
Out of 10, the soundtrack for Shrek.
We could also, we talk about Shrek, then Zach talks about Shrek too.
Yeah.
And then we weigh him out.
And then
I do have opinions about both movies because
we can do that. Well, so do I. I think the soundtrack for Shrek 2, I Need a Hero, Living La Vida Loca, great, Rest, forgettable.
oh no, that a little drop of poison that plays when they enter the criminal thing. I love that song as a child.
What's the one where they say the word, the fairy godmother says the word tush? There's some guy with a tush.
Oh, that's
Kyle?
yes, that is her introduction song when she meets Fiona.
Oh, the evil villain
I
song.
remember
Yeah.
watching that with my friend when it came out on DVD, and we A-B repeated that section because we thought it was so funny.
Yeah, look, I feel like that one was more of a gag than it was a song in the movie. It was more of her like
Musical comedy.
Yeah, it was a musical bit.
I reckon it
just
counts.
like the Robin Hood bit in Shrek 1. I wouldn't count that exactly as a soundtrack.
I
bit.
would.
But I mean, it is on the soundtrack.
Is it?
I
Okay,
think
there
those
you go.
songs are.
So
on
it
the
literally is counted as
All
the
right,
soundtrack.
well then,
They count,
I've
they
been
count.
proven wrong. Very good.
In Shrek 2, I love Changes. I looked that up.
Oh, yeah.
And specifically that version. Yeah.
That is a good one, actually. I agree. What's the opening song? Because they always have the thing like he walks, Prince Charming walks in, sees the wolf, and then we cut to
Honeymoon.
Honeymoon. What's the song for Honeymoon?
Oh, Accidentally in Love.
That was pretty good.
That was pretty good.
Yeah.
For sure.
I like that one. But I think, like, in terms of, like, you're not going into your car and you're putting in the CD for Shrek 2 necessarily. You're probably going to
I
put
am.
in a CD that's a collection of the two of them. But
That's true.
you might also just put in the soundtrack for Shrek 1.
What you're doing is you're putting in a CD, and then it's like Accidentally in Love. It's like, I like the song, but I was actually looking for the Shrek 1 disc. This is Shrek 2. Take it out. Put in Shrek 1. Then you skip to I Want to Stay Home Today. That's what you do.
That's fair. What I would do, in fact, is not put a CD in because I'm not in 2001. I'm actually in the 21st century.
Oh, no.
You know?
You pulled
So
out
I
the
would-
modern technology.
So I would Bluetooth my phone to it, and I would start playing my favorite songs from the Shrek franchise itself, which has equal amounts of Shrek 2 and Shrek 1. I'll have it known. Because I like them both equally.
Yeah.
That way I can give it whatever score you guys give it.
I like that Zach's debating tactic strategy has now kind of shifted to a Pequeño Los Dos kind of.
Yeah, look, Here's the thing. It always was. And I was just merely hiding the fact that it was always going to be that from the very beginning. Yeah, I personally almost like the second one more. But I do know all the lyrics to Smash Mouth's All Star.
All Stars.
So
Great.
that's permanently burned in my mind.
I like the credit song for Shrek 2 is really good as well. It's like this pop punk track. After the post credit sequence, there's this little song, and that was really good. Whereas the Shrek 1 credit stuff,
A big debate when I was in prep was I'm a Believer or All Star. People couldn't figure it out. They went back and forth. What's the better song? And there was a week where everyone was singing I'm a Believer, and there was a week everyone was singing All Star.
And All Star has clearly won that.
I think so.
Yeah, I think All
I feel
Star's
like-
probably better.
I feel
It's
like
more
I'm a
iconic.
Believer had more ascendancy early on, from my memory, my like flawed memory.
yeah,
obviously,
that was more popular, I think. Whereas All Star became popular because
Yeah.
of Shrek.
But also, it's just there's so many songs like that. You know, then I saw her face. Now I'm a believer.
Yeah. Who hasn't
Somebody
seen
once told me the
someone's-
world was gonna wrong me. You know, I could lose. I could use a little change. We could all use a little change. Is that
Yeah.
that same song?
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
like, yeah. We could all use a little bit of change. You know what I'm
I
saying?
said, yeah, what a concept.
Yeah.
What is it? I could use a little fuel myself, and we could
All
all
use a little change.
That's some lyrics that are gonna stick around for
Yeah.
a while.
Yeah, for sure.
Since we started saying the world's on fire, how about yours? I swear, like I never got bored. That became a meme in like 2015.
Yeah.
What happened after that? That was a curse.
Yeah, oh, crap.
We cursed ourselves. Now we're not bored, but the world's on fire, literally and figuratively.
Well, I was
Yeah.
going to say Shrek 1, 10 out of 10, but now I'm thinking 9 just because
Yeah,
of that.
curse
Because
this
of that.
I'm thinking 9 out of 11.
Smash Mouth has cursed this earth.
Yeah, what do we think, boys? Out of 10
For Shrek 1,
for
10,
Shrek
10
1.
out of 10.
10 out of 10, and then for Shrek 2, I'm just going to put down 7 for Shrek 2.
I think the first movie, the soundtracks, they cannot be changed. No, 10 out of 10 for the first one. And I will admit, probably not 100% for the second movie. It's not the perfect, but it's a banger of a soundtrack. And I love it, so I'm going to give it a 9.
I thought you were going to go for like a week 10.
Yeah, no. I'm going to give it a 9.
That's fair. All right.
I'll admit, there's a perfect soundtrack, and then there's a really good soundtrack.
World building. I prefer the world building in Shrek 1 because I love fairy tales crossing over with each other and them not changing the characters at all. It's just like, this is this random character from this fairy tale, and they are the same as they are in the fairy tale, but now they're interacting with other fairy tales. Like, that sort of media, like Fables, that TV show Grimm, Hoodwinked, those sort of things. It's exactly my thing. And I think Shrek 2 starts to make the characters a little bit more original. I like the world building in both movies, though, so I'm not really sure how to go about rating this.
Yeah, well, that's what I say. Like, that's why I think Shrek is so, like, Zach's saying, like, oh, but it's a good sequel. But Shrek is, like, no one had done anything of this ambition that I can think of.
Shrek 1, they hit a home run. Shrek 2, born on third base. You know what I'm saying?
Like,
they already had so much set up.
That's a good point, because I feel like the world building in The Mummy Returns was added purely for The Mummy Returns, and they don't mention it in the first one at all. There's no foreshadowing. In Shrek, they foreshadow a lot in 1, and then they go more into it with 2.
Going to Far, Far Away, that is stroke of genius. You got to give it to them.
Yeah.
But the world building, I think, also is very, like... So, like, in improv, there's 2 ways that you can, like, you know, do a sequel. One is you take the characters, you put them somewhere else. And then the other one is you, like, expand the world, literally. So the first one is great at, like, introducing new characters, taking the character out of the swamp, putting him somewhere else. The second one is a lot better at this, like, that literally, like, now let's see this country.
It does almost both, because it's built on the world and it moves the characters to a different location. Just mixes it up, so... Yeah, it's a bit of both.
Oh, but 2's also got, the fairy godmother. I love that bit of world building.
Yeah,
that she's in there,
yeah.
and this is, like, what she's doing. It's a factory.
It gives you that sort of prequel without telling you anything.
Yeah.
Without doing a prequel. It doesn't do a flashback or anything. You just learn by watching the movie what happens, that the king made a deal with the godmother to end up, you know, sending his daughter up to this castle so that Prince Charming could marry her. I don't know why the fairy godmother doesn't bing bang boosh, I'm the queen now, fuck you.
He has a divine right to rule his act.
Yeah, no,
I feel
that's
like
fair.
also in the first movie, all of the anachronisms were like purely in how characters spoke to each other. Whereas in the second movie, they just went ham with like bringing modern day stuff into.
That is a great
away.
point. They're basically like, oh, what if we put them in the modern... Like, they kind of go to, like, the modern world.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
I like that about 2, though. I like the little subtle jokes that are just in the background that aren't poorly animated still images.
That is a good thing about 2.
Jacob's just like, you son of a bitch, I get that criticism in confidence.
I know. But, yeah, I like those subtle background things that you not necessarily pick up and maybe only pick up on a later rewatching.
I will say, so those kinds of jokes, I remember seeing it as a kid in like 2004 when it came out, Shrek 2, and loving it. Like, I laughed so hard at like that, like them stopping for burgers and like whatever, like a drive-through. Like, I love that. Watching it now as an adult with like the wisdom of years, looking back,
Yeah.
it didn't grab me as hard as the first movie did.
Yeah, but also it's the second time watching it for you, so the joke is spoiled for you.
But as in, I rewatched the first one and the jokes felt fresher, and I've seen it just as recently.
I think it's more than that, too. It's just that, like, we've been pummeled by this capitalism creep.
Yeah.
It's everywhere now, and now it's even in Shrek. You know what I mean? Like,
that's fair.
like
It's nothing sacred.
if I watched it when I was like, if you know, like if we're watching it, like if I, a 27-year-old me, whatever, watched it then, 20 years, how long is this? 20 years has passed, right?
21 years.
21
for the
years has
first one.
passed,
Yeah.
and the world has changed, and now truly nothing is sacred to our mates. Like you know what I mean? Like not in this podcast, but you listen to podcasts where they're talking about like therapy on the app, where they sell your data that you tell a therapist. Like, that's why Shrek 2 has got to go.
Okay, yeah, I'll admit, I agree. If we lived in the perfect world, Shrek 2 would be the funnier movie. But because we live in a capitalist hellhole, it is a lesser movie. I'll give you that.
So everyone's like, where it's more like we live in 1984. No, we live in Shrek 2.
We should be living in Shrek 1, and we live in Shrek 2.
Okay, what do we think for Shrek 1? It's basically Paul Noodle versus Zach.
I'm fine with this.
What are we talking about?
World building. I reckon for the first one, it's like a solid 8, I reckon. It's pretty good. And then for 2, 8 as well. I think they're both equally as good in terms of world building, but that's just me, and I know that you propose.
No, I think that's valid. Like, Shrek's great at world building. It could be better. We could have seen more of those characters in the first one. We didn't see all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we do in 2.
Yeah.
I feel like that moment in Shrek 1 where they go to Dual Lock for the first time, I feel like for Shrek 2 they like got like the condensed juice of that and went like took that vein and like
And also you can tell that it was made cheaply because like the whole Duloc is in that tournament. Like you don't see any characters. There's no people selling street food, whatever. Like, you know what I mean? You see that in Shrek 2.
That is
that's true.
absolutely the reason why I think Terminator 2 is the better movie, is because it had the bigger budget. There's no other reason.
And
if the
it's
first
on
movie
Shrek,
had the same budget as the second movie, I think it would have been better.
Yeah, for sure.
I'll say same with this, even though I think they're both equal.
One day they'll remake Shrek and everyone will be like, what the hell? But then, you know.
Yeah. I've put down 8 points for each on our side. We have that.
That's valid.
How about you?
That's valid.
Yeah, world building is one of my number one things, mostly because of experience with like Lord of the Rings and other things like that, which are kind of focused just on world building in itself for pages and pages on end. But talking about it, 2 had to go from 1. It had to branch off from there. I just think they did a fantastic job. And I think the giant gingerbread man...
Mongo.
Mongo, yes, thank you. Thank you.
Mongo, yeah.
Say his name.
Yes. I'm so sorry, Mongo. And Mongo's family out there. It's a great addition. I want to rate it higher, but I think you're right that they're probably equally as good. Because I do love what they do in Shrek.
What we're talking about before, like Shrek is a feudal society and Shrek 2 is a capitalist society.
And now I'm tainted with the thoughts of capitalism in my mind, and I can't think about the second movie without thinking about the rampant capitalism.
Like, feudalism isn't much better, but at least we can all be like, Lord Farquaad sucks.
That's true.
That is true. That's
a
true.
good point.
Okay, I'll lower my initial score
The
because
Shrek
of
2 capitalism is like, what is this creeping discomfort that seems to pervade everything, the fabric of this world?
Yeah. All right. I'll also rate both 8s. I think.
8. All right, we'll speed through the rest of these. Social impact. So many memes.
It's immeasurable. It's literally immeasurable.
It's immeasurable. But then social impact for 2. Everyone loves Puss in Boots.
I would say it's the most impactful thing that happened in the year 2001.
Hey, Jacob. Hey, Jacob. We're talking about a spin-off movie for Donkey, but do you know what does exist?
What?
A spin-off movie for Puss in Boots.
Yeah, which, did I watch it? Maybe. I honestly don't know.
I don't remember it, but I've seen
I
it.
probably did.
I have
knowing
watched
me,
it, and I
probably
could dictate to you the movie, and I could tell you with a firm conscience that it is a terrible. It's not
Fine.
great.
It's
fine.
like the Golden Goose or something, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the Golden Goose, and he's friends with Humpty Dumpty, and Humpty Dumpty's like a sly
I'm done.
guy. There's also a love interest.
Oh, yes.
I didn't enjoy it. There's one thing where a cat does the meme, like, you know that rap battle thing where a guy goes, oh!
Yeah.
There's a cat that just does that.
Like a hype man cat.
No, but exactly as the meme does it.
Oh,
they
right,
use
right.
a meme in the...
Right.
Look, it's not great.
That's
It's not incredible.
Gross. So because of that, the social impact for Shrek 2 is lessened.
Shit. Counted my own point.
I would say that with Shrek, right? Because, like, Shrek is such a meme. And Shrek himself, the character of Shrek, is a meme.
Huge.
And he's been living in my brain, like, since the last time I saw it. He's been, and maybe even before then, he's been living in my brain as a meme. And then watching this movie, I was just struck by what a fully fleshed out character he was. It's like,
Yes.
this man is not simply a meme.
Yeah.
Or this ogre is not simply a meme. And then I finished the movie and I was like, it's precisely because he's such a full character that he can be memed
Correct.
in such a full way. You know,
Amazing.
That was a good point.
Yeah.
We see him as a joke, but he is no joke.
Yeah.
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 We perceive him as an onion, but he is a cake.
Yeah, no, like Shrek, like the Shrek the musical. There's that disgusting Shrek YouTube series. There was a meme for a little while
Yep.
back. What was it called?
Don't look at me. Don't look at me.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, huge. So I reckon the social impact for Shrek 1, it's immeasurable, but I'll put down 10. 2 is also strong though, because you do have like really good characters, funny moments, but I can't think of many one-liners from
literally-
2.
Yeah.
It's like, it's literally not even comparable. Because without Shrek 2, you'd have all the same stuff as Shrek, all the same social, right? But with Shrek 2, what is there in the zeitgeist? Like,
Well,
Puss in Boots.
it would be Puss in Boots.
that's
It would be
it.
Puss in Boots. I'd say Mungo has a strong foot in.
It's funny. I like it a lot.
But
Prince Charming, the fairy godmother.
Prince Charming's not bad, but I think the fairy godmother and the end scene carries
Living La Vida Loca. Yes.
Ah, yeah.
That is
the
iconic.
ending of Shrek 2.
The dragon donkey babies as well.
Oh,
People
yeah.
bring up the dragon.
There's like a meme of the Puss in Boots with the eyes.
Yeah.
But beyond that, I've
I
not
think-
seen any.
I think it's mainly just Antonio Banderas. Everyone loves him.
Yeah,
I think it's
well,
mainly-
he's great. I
He is
love
good.
him. Look, I think the ending of Shrek 2 had influence, but the rest of the movie, I will concede, it probably didn't have much impact on society over what was already there with Shrek 1.
You know the Shrek memes that are taken from a Shrek video game? Do you know?
Yeah,
remember,
yeah, yeah.
is that the
think
Shrek
that's-
2
I
video
think that's
game?
Shrek 2 because I don't think
Okay,
it was
so
one.
there we go.
Hey, thank you,
That's-
man.
yeah.
I appreciate
It's
the
an olive
bone.
branch. Yeah.
Yeah, just take that.
That's true.
I can crawl myself out of this sinking ship.
What do we think numbers? Jacob, just give me a number for 2. Oh, actually,
If I was gonna give Shrek 1 a 10, then Shrek 2 would be like 1.5 at best.
Oh my god!
But
I disagree with
like,
that.
I'd want to give Shrek 1.
Don't worry, just give high ones. and
I'd
then
want to give
average this
Shrek 1
out.
like, you know what I mean? Like Shrek 1 will get like 1,000.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
Shrek 2 can get like 4.
Man, you fucking hate Shrek 2.
No, he's
Do
come
you
to play.
not like
He's come
Shrek
to play.
2?
Shrek 1 is one of the greatest, most iconic films of all time, and Shrek 2 is an okay sequel.
I think it's a good It's one of the. Have you seen fucking sequels out
See,
there?
that's my point. Even at best, your argument is it's a good sequel, but sequels aren't good, as you just said, so
okay.
it's not good.
Okay.
It's got absolutely no social impact. I stand by that.
It's got some. It's got a bit.
Definitely
It's got a bit.
some social
It's got a little.
impact.
It's got a
Before
little.
Tonight, before I rewatched it for this podcast, I remembered that they went to Far, Far Away, and that was a Hollywood sign, and maybe that was and the Sexy Shrek.
Yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
it.
But
Well,
did
Sexy
you-
Shrek has a little bit of cultural impact.
Yeah. I was about to say I've at least seen several sexy Shrek memes.
Okay, I'll go up to the 3 out of 10.
Okay,
What do you think,
okay.
Jack?
But
4. Just on what Jacob saying about being 1,000 out of 10, I kind of agree with that because Shrek really does belong to like a pantheon of pieces of media. It's like in rarefied air, it really is. I think there's maybe like 5 other things like Harry Potter, the Bible,
Yeah.
Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, Shrek,
Star Wars, I guess.
Shakespeare,
Or maybe Shakespeare's probably more
I'm going to
important
say
than Star Wars.
Terminator just because I want to bring it up again.
Shrek is like far. This could be the actual debate. Shrek is in a different league to Terminator.
No, yeah. Look, on social impact, yeah.
Definitely. Those are our numbers. What did you say?
10 and then a 7.
7, cool.
Maybe a 6.5. Look, it didn't have much cultural impact. I'll give you that. Look, I'm not saying a movie is made on its cultural impact.
Okay.
No, I think the better movies don't try to get cultural impact, actually.
They have cultural impact thrust upon them.
Yeah.
I think adult humor in Shrek 1 is really good. So there's like the waterboarding of Gingerbread Man with milk.
Yep.
Very good. There's all the penis and buttocks jokes.
You think he's compensating for something?
I think my favorite line is adult line is Shrek's in his house and Snow White's on his table, and he just very nonchalantly goes, "Dead broad off the table."
Dead broad off the table.
You know he's seen some shit. If that's your response to a dead woman on your kitchen table,
That's good.
it can't be here.
Yeah. There's the entire existence of Lord Farquaad. There's him pulling up the sheets when he's watching the mirror.
On Lord Farquaad, because you haven't brought this up. The other origin story of Shrek is that the guy who made it was like fired from wherever he was fired from, and Lord Farquaad looks a lot like it was Disney, right? Looks a lot
Yeah.
like the director or the head of Disney at the time.
Yeah.
Also, the name Farquaad, right? Did we talk about that?
That's what's happening.
Yeah.
The name itself. With Shrek 2, a lot of it is like background gags, I think, for adult humor, rather than just like outright lines. Because there's like product placement.
The catnip joke, I thought.
Catnip is great.
Yeah.
The police brutality.
Oh, there's the xenomorph sequence with Puss in Boots coming out of Shrek's
Oh, yeah,
stomach.
the chest, yeah.
The ugly stepsister thing is meant to be a bit of a
Yeah.
hey adults, so you'll probably laugh at this, and then just ends up being this trans joke that's not very funny.
Yeah, like kids don't find it funny because it's just like, who cares? Yeah.
Yeah.
The wolf was reading Porks Illustrated in the
it too?
opening scene. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is true.
That was funny.
That is a good one. And that's a background joke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Humor, first movie, I'd say 9. I'd actually say, similar 9 for the second as well.
Yeah, but they're similar in different ways.
Yeah.
Again, a lot of background jokes, a lot of things like that, whereas they're more conversation in the first movie. All the jokes, the adult ones to pick up on.
I feel like Shrek 2, like Shrek 1, they just had a funny script. Shrek
Yeah.
2, they had a script and then they punched it up.
Yeah,
with
yeah,
even
yeah.
more
Yeah,
jokes.
They would have had
Yeah.
a new team. Like most movies
Yeah.
will have a new team come in. And
Yeah.
In a perfect world, we would have had the budget for 2 for the first movie.
For sure.
And then, yeah.
And that would have just blown everything out of the water, and I'd be sitting here like, yeah, 2 exists, you know.
So 9 for both on our side.
I'll give the first one 9. I'll probably give it 8.5. I'd say
Oh,
less.
not 0.5. That makes my job harder.
Yeah, I know. I haven't used them so much yet, so I want to put them in. But I think it is less. There is less adult jokes.
Yeah. I think we should skip to realism. I like that discussion.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I mainly have one thing to say about that, and this is the real reason why Shrek 2 doesn't cut it for me. Shrek 2 opens
Yes.
with Donkey wanting to move back in with Shrek and Fiona because being a dad is too hard. Now, if I know one thing about the character of Donkey, he would not walk out on his family. He wouldn't do it.
Might I point out, he learns about his kids at the very end of the movie. And it was perhaps the dragon being moody because of the children she was going to have that got him out.
Maybe.
Okay, that makes me feel better.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
makes me
He
feel
didn't
better.
abandon his kids.
Because the other most unrealistic thing about the first movie is that now can we have the discussion of the consent between Donkey and Dragon?
I guess we can do it because
Tell-
there is
tell
it
me
because
this.
there's so much verbal non-consent
Tell
from
me
Donkey.
this. If I was guarding a castle with a flamethrower,
Yep.
and
With a flamethrower,
a
yeah.
beautiful woman came, running through, and I was like flaming her. Finally, I capture her, and I'm about to kill her with my flamethrower, and just like, you're a sexy guy, and then I slept with her. You're saying that would be fine?
I didn't say it was.
That's my
look.
That's my thoughts on realism. It's just not gonna happen. A donkey and a dragon. It's not gonna happen.
I also think the dragon isn't necessarily in touch. Like, her coping strategies for big emotions aren't great. Because in the first one, when Shrek, Donkey, and what's the name?
The Fiona.
Fiona get
yeah.
away, Dragon is mad as all hell, like going crazy,
Yeah,
flaming
trying to murder
everywhere. And then when she gets pulled back by the chain, only after they've escaped does she allow herself to feel sad and disappointed. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
It's like, get to that place
Emotions,
first,
she
Dragon,
just
you know what I'm
breaks
saying?
down,
Yeah.
you know. Yeah, no, definitely the dragon is unstable and needs to seek help.
Yeah, needs to talk to someone.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
she can't.
It's definitely troublesome, and the more you think about it, the worse it gets.
You could do essays on it, really.
Yeah. Look, it's sad, but I also think it's realistic because
But-
not
Yeah.
all relationships are happy, perfect
And I would also
relationships.
say
That's a good point.
I think if Donkey was fully self-possessed and like in a good place, he would never have got with Dragon.
correct.
But he was like feeling sad during the Hallelujah bit. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? He's sad as shit, crying by a lakeside, and that's when Dragon swoops in, shoulder to lean on. Yeah.
Maybe that's part of the prequel too. We see Donkey's true love. Maybe she dies.
Oh, yeah.
Then he has to, settle for Dragon.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe.
Sandra's not so into that.
I don't know.
No,
I feel like we're making like a Joker prequel, but it's Donkey.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the movie.
It's Donkey, but it's different people's interpretations of Donkey. Like it's like they're like, oh, who do you think would play a good Donkey? You know what I'm saying? Like,
it's a joke, and Phoenix would play.
Phoenix is
Can't wait to see the black and white, depressing noir.
I reckon Fassbender
donkey.
would play it.
Yeah.
I was gonna say what I did think was great about the Donkey Dragon dynamic is that it is really well written that the Achilles heel of Dragon when they're fighting Dragon happens to be like Donkey's one wood, which is just like being charismatic and like chatting people up, like being really loquacious. And it's like that is funny, like that's poetic that like the thing that stopped the dragon was his like key defense mechanism,
Yeah, the
like
one thing,
way of interacting with the
one
world.
thing that goes for Donkey is how charismatic he is, and that's the weakness of the dragon. Yeah.
So that I think that alone made that inappropriate relationship worth it on screen.
I was just saying, I think their relationship built on later. I think they're in a great, happy relationship eventually, but it does start off very rocky from a bad place.
Well, it starts off as a throwaway joke.
Yeah,
And then they
exactly,
went, oh no,
exactly.
hang on.
Yeah.
We
but,
gotta explore
but
this
also,
more.
I think they make a great power couple because
Yeah.
you've got the
But
muscle,
it's also
the
here's
brawn.
the other thing. It's that Donkey in a later scene he's like chatting to Fiona when she's getting carried, and he's like, "What if you like get with this girl, but like you don't want to hurt her feelings? You're trying to let her down because she might burn you." And it's like he's taking it pretty lighthearted. Like he doesn't see getting burnt as like that big a deal. I don't think.
Look, he's been burnt before. He's broken up with dragons before. You know, he knows the drill.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Shrek 1's... What is realism? Like, it's realistic, or is it realistic because the characters are people?
Yeah, like character. Well, yeah. So for me, when I said realism, like it was a bit of a joke because obviously none of this is realistic. But the realism is, do the characters act consistently?
I think they do throughout.
Yeah.
I think they're both on par.
I think
Yeah.
one of the best things about Shrek is how real it feels.
Yeah,
Yeah, the
Like, they
characters are
feel
really
like
good.
people, not a random throwaway characters for a cartoon you're watching.
Yeah.
Like, you see the emotion in Shrek as he goes through this whole ordeal through both movies, I would say.
Certainly two of the
so.
main characters. The
Yeah.
littles aside, so yeah.
Yeah, like the Pinocchio and Gingerbread Men are like one joke. They don't have any
Yeah,
story.
yeah.
But that's not, that's always going to happen in a comedy. What is unrealistic? I don't think there's no character decisions that really change.
Lord Farquaad isn't believable, but
Yeah, like,
just-
why is he a ruler?
Yeah, like he's just kind of an incel, I guess. I don't know, but he's in power. How is he in power?
Well, that's
How
that's
is
the
he
whole
not-
thing of Kings and Divine Right to Rule is that it's just politics, but politics with like only 4 people. You know what I mean? So he's probably the most charismatic of the 2 other people that could potentially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, exactly. Yeah, look, realism is pretty solid. I reckon pretty high points for both. Does one get like 1 less point because of Dragon? Like
No,
a
I think
9
it gets
and
one
then-
more point because of Dragon. I think Dragon's a very realistic relationship, even though it's not a. It's a rocky start. It's a bad start, but
It
that's,
does get better.
That's
Yeah,
more.
that's true.
That's more real to real life.
If you can
Not
suspend,
everything's a fairy tale.
yeah,
son.
if you can suspend your disbelief enough to like let that be real, then you actually learn a lot from it.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I think you put my heart at ease because I was
Okay.
going to take big points off Shrek and say the donkey would never walk out on his woman and all that. But no, I hear you. It's just the world's more complicated than just everyone lives happily ever after.
Yeah.
and that's one of the themes.
Yeah. All right. Scores.
Realism. Let's go. Yeah, 8 for both.
And I think in the second one, the whole relationship thing with the dad and everything, how they don't get along and stuff is really good.
I like that a lot.
But it also, it's tricky for me to say, is it more real? The only umbrage I have is when Shrek, like, abandons Fiona because of the fairy godmother. And it's like, if you love her, you have to let her go. But I guess Shrek's in an emotional state at that time, so he's very vulnerable. So he just leaves. Maybe that might happen, I'm not sure. It definitely makes you feel for him. So I guess I'll give him the same.
Cool.
8.
So in Shrek, when Donkey asks Shrek his name.
Oh, I love this.
You like my theory? Okay.
love
So
this.
Donkey asks Shrek his name, and Shrek goes, Shrek? My theory is that Shrek's never been asked his name before. He doesn't have a name. Donkey asks, what's your name? And he just comes up with the first thing, Shrek. Rewatch it and let me know your thoughts.
That's because I have a
Yeah.
similar thought. Mine isn't that he's like come up with, but no, so few people ask him his name that he's taken it back. Like, this donkey's different. Like, wow, it's Shrek actually. Like,
Okay.
oh, you actually interested in knowing my name? Like, what the hell? You actually care? And then that's followed up by the scene where they're sitting together and he's like, people, they just see a big dumb ogre and they don't like. It's like, I like you, Shrek. Like, I'm your friend. He's like, I know that. Like, it's like he knows he has a true friend. And I feel like Donkey, every step of the way, is like, he's cut from a different cloth to everyone else in this kingdom. And
What a bloke. What a guy. What a friend.
yeah.
Well, the final points are out of a possible 100 points, so it worked out pretty well. Shrek 2 on 77.5, which I think makes sense, and then Shrek on 90 out of
Yeah.
100.
Yeah.
Pretty good points.
I
around.
agree
Yeah.
to both of those scores.
I think that's good.
Is
And
that
yeah,
actually quite similar to the Rotten Tomatoes for each?
I actually haven't checked the Rotten Tomatoes score for Shrek 2. Let's have a little look here.
Yeah, come on, bring it up. We're doing 2 movies this week.
89, higher than the first one, but I think potentially more people saw it.
Yeah, that's the critics score, though, right?
Yeah, that's critics.
What's
That's
the
audience.
audience?
Yeah,
What is the audience?
yeah.
Audience
The
is
audience
important.
has a real heart.
Shrek is 90, the first
Agreed.
one, audience score, which is what we gave it. And then Shrek 2 is 69.
Yeah. There you go. Almost exactly what we gave
Pretty
it.
close, yeah.
Pretty
Yeah.
close, pretty close.
I'm not sure it was quite the same metrics. they were measuring it by, but
But any metrics will really get you there, you know. It's just...
there's a G factor.
No, we'll cherry pick our data wherever we can find it and be like, oh, hey, look, they lined up. It must be right.
They did. And yeah, there's Shrek the Third, Shrek Forever After, Puss in Boots 1. We're getting a sequel later this year.
Wait,
then Shrek 5. There's a Puss in Boots 2 coming out this year.
Fuck.
And there's supposedly a Shrek 5. It's been in the works for years, constantly been cancelled. Now it might be a reboot.
Okay, well, let's write to DreamWorks and tell them that gritty prequels.
Donkey.
having a lifeline.
Where we see, Donkey growing up, his relationship troubles. We see Shrek getting abused.
Yeah, no, like it's dark. It's not a kids movie.
Yeah,
It's dark,
dark,
it's dark.
gritty.
It's not a kids movie.
We live in a fairy tale.
Society.
G'day, Kegel here from Aussie rap duo Kegel and Greg. I write funny songs with my true blue bestie Greg, who sounds a lot like Sandro from the podcast you're listening to right now. This episode of Oldie But a Goodie is brought to you by our debut album, Keep 'Em Wonderin', which is out right now. Here's a sneak preview of one of the songs.
We might not be the richest men alive, but yet we get by, but yet we
Yeah, I
get
might not
by.
in a Porsche or a mansion or some jewels. I might not have a shed filled with Bunnings tools. I might not have a water or table type pool. I might not have cows or chickens or mules, but I get by.
Wow, that was amazing, and it's from our debut album, Keep 'Em Wonderin' by Kegel and Greg. Cheers, enjoy the rest of that episode.
All right, we'll wrap this up with a crossover. That's something we've been doing this year, coming up with random crossovers between Shrek and a random film that we've covered previously. I've got a random number generator. It's generated the number 157. We're going to come up with a crossover between this movie and the film we did on episode 157, which is a year in review, so I've got to do another number. 147, that's better.
Whoa, that's recent.
Night Flyers.
Oh, Night Flies. What was that one?
Space horror.
Oh.
Up in space on a spaceship. Written by George R.R. Martin. Shrek goes to space and dies.
Yeah, Shrek in
Skip,
space.
next one.
That's the Shrek 5.
We can do another number.
Yeah.
There is something to like a Shrek horror movie, right? Something about playing on the idea of Shrek being a monster. It's like, is the monster out there, or is it the monster in me? Kind of thing.
What if it's like Shrek prequel as well, or like post, long time. He's just going around to people's houses, just making them into bread, just doing
I reckon there could be a cool
things.
like
Skinning
Shrek.
the whole village.
Like he just goes full ogre.
Like
Yeah.
Shrek has repressed memories, and the twist is that he's the villain at the end of the movie.
Oh, that's good.
That would be
Well,
good.
like you know,
Like
like
a kind of like
Purge?
Shutter Island, but Shrek Islands, like the Shutter Islands. Kind of
Okay,
thing.
so he was going around. We'll go with Night Flies. So he was going around the medieval town, just being a complete monster, harming people. All the bad stories that the parents tell their kids to get them to go to sleep at night is, it's all real based off him. And so the Lord of the Land decides to freeze Shrek in ice, and then they transport him up to a ship in the far future.
That's good.
Yeah.
Then the cryopods fail. Like they fail to freeze him.
Oh, yeah. So Mike, is it Mike Myers? No. What's the one? What's the horror one in space that happens?
Jason Voorhees.
Yeah. It's that sort of situation
It's
where he
just
thaws
Jason
out,
X.
and then
And just to add a bit of nuance, like in the royal family, right? Because he becomes a royal. How imagine Shrek wanted to be promiscuous, or whatever. They'd be like, you can go and one night a year you can go and sleep with town's maidens or whatever. So that kind of idea, that royal family real, is like Shrek's like getting restless. So like one night a year you can go and just like
Okay, all right.
just go and
okay.
skin everyone in the village. That's like that feels like a very royal family. To
It
me,
does feel
you know?
Very purge. Yeah.
very society.
Yeah. Look, we don't know how the far, far away kingdom came of being. It could have been a bloody slaughter when armies
would have
came
been.
in and took over the
We kind
land.
of see it where we said like with the Lord Farquaad thing. Like these people, they're real.
Yeah.
Oh, and also there's a picture of Prince William in Shrek 2, which means the royal family exists in this
There we
world.
go.
So,
Did.
They're sharing.
We don't
totes.
see them again. They did exist.
and I'm just saying, Fiona's parents look related.
No, they're not. One of them's a frog. It's literally in the whole lore. One of them was a frog.
No, actually, good point. All right, there we go. That's Shrek.
Can I just compliment us all on our turn taking? This is 4 men, very opinionated about Shrek.
And just an open invitation to any listeners. I'll talk about Shrek anytime. Just find me online. Some people don't like to be found online after podcasts. Not me. If we're talking about Shrek or Cars or Cool Runnings.
Cool Runnings is a good one.
What about Shrek 2?
Don't even.
What? What is wrong with
That's funny.
It's not that bad of a film. It's a great film.
It would be funny to do Shrek 3 versus Shrek 4 one day. If you lads have anything to plug, go for it. Jack, you're not really on anything.
Just on my bullshit.
Oh, links to that. Jacob, how about you?
Yeah, well, we're all in Poor Noodle. Poor Noodle will have some online content coming eventually. But then, of course, if you ever need a food truck, Mr. Yes and Mr. No, we'll sort that out for you.
If you like this show, you can check us out on everything. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. I'm on Twitter. Letterboxd. We're both on Letterboxd. We've got all the things. Links in the episode description. Oldie But a Goodie Pod is the @ for everything, including Patreon. Patreon.com/oldiebuttagoodiepod. New episode of Memento. We reviewed that. It's out then, and the summer series starts in 3 weeks. Looks like we're doing 3 months of solid Nicolas Cage.
Yep.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Links to all that in the episode description, as mentioned. Zach, I've got to pick next week's episode.
Next week, you have one option.
One option?
Sandro. So, not much of a choice. It's everyone's favorite adaptation of The Disaster of Pearl Harbor by Michael Bay.
Oh, no.
Yes, it is a quote-unquote historic reenactment, but not very historically accurate, of the disaster that is Pearl Harbor. Apparently it is 3 hours long.
Yeah, I've seen it before, and it's awful.
Oh, okay. I have not seen it.
I hate it. Have you seen Pearl Harbor, Jack or Jacob?
No, never seen it.
Oh,
But I have seen Australia.
I don't want to do Pearl Harbor.
Unless you can come up with some good excuse, I don't think we have a choice here.
My excuse is the dog ate my excuse. Oh no, we gotta do Pearl Harbor. All right, we'll do it. We haven't done Michael Bay, but yet, so we'll do Pearl Harbor.
Maybe we can find someone to help us with Pearl Harbor.
Oh, more guests. I think that's a good idea. We'll wrap it up with the best quote from Shrek. Who's
Jacob's
going?
got to pull out the dictionary on this one. He's got every single. He's got the entire script written down.
I picked one. And that line is, "You dense, irritating miniature beast of burden."
That is a good one. My favorite quote is, "You're not my friend," which isn't from Shrek, but it's from the Shrek sketch series that Jacob and I wrote.
Oh, no.
Oh, donkey, you're not my friend.
You're not my friend. No, my actual favorite quote would be, "This is the part where you run."
Or you in what army? That's all.
Or you in what
Oh,
army's
yeah.
good.
You and what army?
I can't remember it exactly, but when Donkey accuses Shrek of farting, then Shrek goes, like, "Trust me, if that were me, you'd be dead." It's like, "No, that's brimstone," and then Donkey's like, "Ain't no brimstone."
Ain't no stone be making that.
That's it.
That is a good one. That is good. Well,
That was good.
As a representative of the second movie, I will have to bring it out here. Oh, it's when Shrek has stolen those guys' clothes and is like, I will repay you one day, unless for some unforeseen reason I cannot, or I just forget about it. And we never see those characters ever again. That's my favorite quote.
That's the real dark prequel, is those two guys.
They track down him and they like take him out.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, that would be a great sequel. Like Shrek 3 should have been. Now Shrek is like royalty, and he goes bad. He goes power mad.
Yeah, that would have been a way better sequel.
But I think it would have been good to see a Shrek movie where he has to rediscover himself as an ogre, but not in a way that it was his fault that he left being an ogre, rather than he was like torn from it by like being overstressed or overstretched by having kids, you know?
Somebody once told me the world is gonna roll me. I ain't the sharpest tool in the shed.